Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Future Proof, the podcast where we decode how founders, leaders, and execs are working smarter by using systems, automation, and AI. If you're looking to future-proof your business, you're definitely in the right place. And before we dive in, if you're a founder, leader, C-suite exec who's feeling the pressure to grow faster with leaner teams, we're constantly developing new leading-edge AI solutions. Like last week, we helped a client save over 30 hours just for their sales team alone. So if you're interested in talking to us, we just do a 30-minute no pitch collaboration session to see if there's something we can do to help. Just click on one of the links in the show notes and we're happy to help. But let's get to today's guest. Today's guest is Sarah Miller. Sarah is from Axis Entertainment, a PR agency and marketing firm. And Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. I love that we pre-gamed for the podcast. It's so funny because we start chatting.
Always got a pre-game.
But it's just like we start chatting so much about topics that are such good conversations, and then we lose track of time before we even hit a podcast start.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sarah, let's start with what we always did. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about your background. I mean, you are an entrepreneur through and through. You have multiple companies. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. So, I have Access Entertainment. We're a high-profile bespoke PR firm, strategy, marketing, positioning, and all the good stuff. We're not publicists, but we're more on the strategic side of creating leaders, making sure you're seen at the right time, the right place, with the right messaging. So we're very strategic, creative on the PR front, which is kind of what we do. So to your point, like AI is a big tool of ours. And I have our podcast, The Axis Effect, and our new company, Ethos Sun, we just started. So I love when people talk about AI and the use of it for the right reasons.
What your vision for Axis is going forward in the next year and a half?
That's kind of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Our clients are all like, we've kind of ran as a media powerhouse in sports, tech, and entertainment and lifestyle. A lot of the entertainment is the tech side, music distribution, all platforms. We've done a lot of production of fashion events, produced big music events, big shows. But, our goal is just to be more client facing, be better for our clients, utilize new technologies coming in to make our jobs easier. And, since the pandemic and there's been so much going on in the world, it's really about fighting for global recognition with our clients. So we are just getting more strategic, more creative, getting smarter on the approach to get our clients to market. I mean, that's really our goal right now for the next year or two. We're not in any big shift like most companies. Every 4 to 5 years, we go through big shifts. We just went through a big shift the past year or two. We have a nonprofit now that I created. We have another company. We lean into some different technologies more than ever. But right now, we're just looking forward to the next few years and seeing what tools and technologies are out there to better our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is where partnerships and collaborations are more important than ever because everything's moving so fast. And so I love it. And your new Ethos line, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's really exciting what you're doing.
Thank you. No, I agree. We love collabs. I love collaborations. I always feel there's a power of two. Or doing something on your own. So, and that is one of our goals, more collaborations, more branded collaborations over the next year or two. But yeah, we just launched Ethos Sun. Actually, our product line comes out this summer. And long story behind how that came about. But we had a client which brought me, we're down to Peru a lot. They were in the Bitcoin industry, which brought me to create my nonprofit World Health Initiatives, which then through a partnership on a collab of saving reefs and communities, we created Ethos Sun. So our love letter to the planet is to create a curated line of tremendously highly curated, mineral-based, zero toxic chemicals, sunscreen, skin products that are not just good for your skin, protect your skin, but good for the planet, good for the reefs, because we know and we've seen the science and data, a lot of these reefs are being destroyed. And it's not, we have climate control and all these other things, but the biggest factor are human beings. So we're creating a better sunscreen that is safe for the environment, safe for the oceans. And, we look at politics, we look at everything being more eco-conscious these days, what we ingest, what we eat, what we drink, but we've got to look at what we put on our skin. All the sunscreens on the market have carcinogenics. They're just in the reefs. What we came out with is a very high alternative that is a zinc-based sunscreen with zero toxic chemicals. That's good for your skin. So that's kind of my where I've been in the past 12 months besides agency stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Just wearing multiple entrepreneurial hats. So Sarah, that's really, really exciting. So we were talking earlier before the podcast. Talk to the audience about your view on how AI is influencing the different marketplaces and the clients that you work with, and how you see it fitting in.
Yeah, and I love talking about AI, not from a total techie standpoint, but from an agency. And there's just so much going on out there. And what our biggest thing is educating our clients. I wrote a book and a chapter on leaning into technology, how to thrive and survive in a tech world. There's a lot of fear out there. People don't understand it. They don't want to be replaced. And I feel like with our clients, AI, we push AI. We use AI in the agency. When you do research, when you're looking to verify stuff, AI just makes things quicker and easier. Now, I always say trust and verify. I'm going to go through AI, but in the industry, I also know if
Love
it's
that phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, or if I need to do background, just to ensure that it has the intel it needs to spin out what it does. But we encourage clients to lean into technology, not be afraid of it. And it's okay to be afraid of the unknown, but you've got to know where your sources are. You've got to talk, you've got to figure out how the technology, AI, is going to fit to help better your company. So I'm not saying jump into it just because it's a new buzzword. I'm saying figure out where the benefits and features are that will help your company thrive and survive and grow in the right direction. And we kind of end up doing a lot of the education with our clients, explaining which areas and why they should be leaning more into tech versus being afraid of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's really, really good, sound advice. And so from you guys help people become more thought leaders and brand ambassadors and authorities in their respective industries and spaces, right? Talk to the audience a little bit about like what that means to them, because I think that there's a lot of people that have come on my podcast that would probably really benefit from understanding how, because they want to be thought leaders in their industries. They want to get more PR out there, but I don't know if everybody really knows how to do that the right way. So how when they engage with you guys, how do you explain it to your clients?
On the PR side, well, publicity and public relations are not the same thing. Anybody could write a press release. You could get publicity. It used to be back in the go-go days that we call it. You could write build it, but that doesn't happen anymore. There's so much clutter out there. Everybody is in this monster global race for recognition, whether it's to get to the market, whether it's sales, partnerships, BD. It's public relations it's definitely not the same thing as publicity. You got publicity and then you got public relations, which is a very creative strategic knowledge to establish better authority leadership footprints, being an authority in your field. We always talk about Steve Jobs. I mean, our office is on Max. I'm an Apple girl, so I love Apple products, but he at one point did not have a publicity problem. Getting press is getting press. He had a public relations issue where he needed to get in the market and see as an actual leader, knowing the features, the benefits, why he needs to be leading with his products and the strength of that brand. That's public relations. That's not publicity. And I think for us, a lot of our clients, I'm not saying they don't need publicity. They do need the releases. They do need people talking about them. But it's just public relations is a stronger, more viable footprint or handprint on the world. People need to become authority leaders in their space. I mean, when you think about it, it's a very strategic initiative, how to get out there and being creative, leveraging collabs, leveraging what you have. And what a lot of people don't understand, features and benefits are not the same thing. So, people say, oh, I know my company better than anybody. You do, because you built it, you created it, you live and you breathe it. But we also have to understand that as an expert in whatever we do, there's a lot we don't know, and understanding we need a team around us that knows what we don't know. And, we always pick on some of these great technology leaders and icons like Steve Jobs. Regardless of what people think, Larry Ellison, they all have written books. Bill Gates, they are powerhouse icons that run the world on technology. And they are all very, to some extent, their humbleness comes out in some of the books they've written and interviews saying we are where we at because we had experts around us who knew what we didn't have. And I think that's key. And we always say to our clients in general, every time we have a podcast, lead with purpose, not with ego. You got to be able to understand I could not have done A, B, or C without the right team around me. And so there's so many aspects that go in to success for an entrepreneur, a startup, whether you're a big Fortune 500 CEO executive or a startup, you really have to know how to lead, how to be a good leader, what tools you need to help you get to where you want to be and to hit that trajectory. And I just think we get so wrapped up in our own kind of head and our own world with our companies, we forget really what our purpose is and what we're doing. And we've got to stand back and realize you got to bring people in. This is a team effort, And I just think sometimes we need to stand back out of our comfort zone a little to reassess where we're going. I mean, and that's really, I think,
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree, Sarah. And one of the things that's come to light, and I've had more people that have come onto the podcast to say, hey, I realize now more than ever, I can't be the behind the scenes founder or CEO. I have to be building my personal brand out there. And that involves what you were just talking about is becoming an authority and a figure and a thought leader in their industry and in their space. Do you believe that it's more important now than ever for them to get on things like podcasts and publish things out on LinkedIn and to become that thought leader?
That's a good question, but I just had this conversation the other day with a client. What we used to do is anymore. The world's evolving, technology evolving, how we stay ahead of the game, how we set the footprint is evolving. It's different. We tell all our clients, as much as they may or may not agree with who runs what platforms. There are certain platforms out there that you have to use, that you know how to use. As a CEO, I push my clients to be better on X because a lot of press are using it. If I'm seeing, and I'm talking about articles and authority leadership issues and topics, no matter where, from politics down to technology, and I see you're following me and you're posting stuff, I'm going to go to you and say, hey, can I get a quote on this? Or can I talk to you? People don't understand. We have a lot of platforms. All of them don't work. Most of them don't work. But if you're going to use one, use it, know how to use it. But there's, podcasts are amazing. But my thing with podcasts, and this is coming from my opinion because I have a podcast. We don't
treat
you
have a podcast. Right?
You're not just on today, then hey, thank you, then I move on. And most podcasts do. People say, oh, I want to start my own podcast during the pandemic. Let's do a podcast. Everybody I knew was like, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do a podcast. Most podcasts don't get past the 20. They get to maybe episode 20 and then they die out. It takes work. It challenges. It takes topics. I mean, we're launching season 13. We have over 280. But we treat our podcast guests like their clients. Because of an agency, we have the social media, the reels, the videos, the tech industry stats and statistics. We go above and beyond for every guest on our show to ensure the podcast is not just a good experience for that 30, 40 minutes online. I mean, people do listen. You do have viewers, but it's such a convoluted space. There's billions of platforms to listen and read off of. But I say you got to take account. If you're a client, if you're a guest, you need to take accountability. I need to take accountability on your podcast as your guest. Grateful to be on to talk about important subjects, but when you do drop the podcast, this is me having to take what you did, refilter it, repost it, talk about it, support it. And I think a lot of people, okay, great, I was on a podcast, and they walk away. So, it's like, hey, podcasts don't have PR engines behind them. We fortunately, our PR firm, it's on the ownership of the executive CEO on the show. I love podcasts, and we built it because it's a platform to have a voice, to talk about the narrative of what's going on in the world. It's a safe space, but there's also responsibility as a guest to utilize it to maximize that exposure for your own leadership. Everybody's different. It's like a doctor. I have a headache. What's wrong? We can't give advice to people not knowing their companies, who they are, because every client we have, we're not a cookie cutter agency. But I do like podcasts. But my big thing, if you are not super chatty or authoritative and you don't have your background isn't chatting away to anybody on any street corner about topics under the sun, you do need to prep. You do need to know what you're doing. And if you don't come off as authentic and believable and passionate about what you do, it is tricky to come off on a good podcast. So I just feel like if you look at all of our mediums out there, knowing how to use the right one that's a good fit for you is not a right or wrong way. It's just finding the best fit for you.
I totally agree. And I think that there's certain platforms that serve certain industries better than others. And you're right, like X is a very underutilized platform for a lot of thought leaders. And it's becoming a focus for us this year. It actually it's starting in the last month. So I totally get it, Sarah. You're spot on. And I think everyone just thinks, oh, if I'm a business leader, I just have to make sure I get on a few podcasts and do some LinkedIn work. It's more than that. And to your point,
think about how much time we spend on social. I kind of ebb and flow with IG, with our clients, Facebook. I honestly am the worst. I have not utilized LinkedIn like I probably should for networking. I don't have enough hours in my day to spend 2-3 hours an hour on all the platforms. And people think it's easy. I'm on the phone. I'm at Starbucks. I'm in traffic. I could just quickly tag and drop stuff, but that's not public relations. That's not leadership. For me, I could tell if you're just dropping something or if you truly are spending time. But, we just got back from one of the largest global cruise ship shows in Miami last week. There are right and wrong ways to run shows, to run market intelligence surveys, strategy, getting your messaging. There are so many amazing things out there. You just got to know what works best for you and find the right PR firm, find the right partner that's going to be honest with you, that's going to help you, not just take a we turn a lot of clients down. They're not a good fit. We don't need their money. We want clients that lead with purpose, not egos, and who understand it does take works. It does go both ways. And you need to know and understand and want to get into the market the right way. And I just feel like it's just a lot of education. A lot of people are just moving so fast. They're not slowing down to realize, hey, they're not helping their company. They're hurting it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I just think things are evolving so fast. So what advice would you give to the founders and CEOs out there that are thinking, hey, I know I need to do something different and I don't know where to start?
So it's interesting because I met an amazing CEO by accident. He's actually on our board for Ethos Sun.
I just can't even imagine you meeting someone by accident. Of course. I bet you talk to everybody. That's great.
Okay, I did, but it's interesting. I met one of our board advisors, Grant McDonald, CEO of Bathorium, because this is my biggest thing. And this is on our website and quotes from people and clients and endorsements. Be customer facing. We are a very client facing agency. We don't just throw an intern at you. When there's problems, we handle it, we correct it. We go to our clients. We made a mistake. We screwed up, but we got a plan B, plan C, and we're doing this, and here's the outcome. And a lot of times our clients are like, well, why are you telling us this was great? Because we made a mistake, and we want you to understand why we had to shift, go right, go left. Being client-facing so critical. I met somebody by accident because a product got lost in the mail from Canada that I ordered. Customer service, da-da-da-da-da. And, I figured it was just a customer service. Somebody, hey, we're sorry, we're looking into this. Ask, verify the address, what's going on. Like, hey, this may not necessarily be your fault. It just kind of shuffled in the processing, got lost from once it left the border of Canada into USPS on the US side. Then I get another text or another email. Hey, we're so sorry. Give me an hour. Let me sort this out. And I'm like, whatever. And then I get this message again. Hey, we are going to get the products delivered by one of our Scottsdale people, whatever, local businesses down there, whatever. And within like 3 hours, I had products and then extra samples as an apology at my door. And I went back on the email like, thank you. And I realized that was the CEO of that company who stepped in. And I wrote back, honestly, like mad respect as a CEO to be that client facing, to step in, because that's where no matter how big you are, because they just felt, hey, this is our fault, or it's not our fault. It was a mail, but we sent it to you. And I just sent back a nice email and they replied back again. Then after a dialogue, I looked him up, found out, oh my God, this is, Graham McDonald. He didn't realize, oh my God, we've heard that agency, that's the CEO. We started chatting. He came on my podcast. We talked about
Nice.
because I always feel on our podcast, there's no failures for CEOs. There's speed bumps. You have to learn from your mistakes. You fall, you get up. How you get up with the grace in class, you get up to handle the situation, to move on. That's leadership. We say yes all day long. It's the heart and make easy decisions, making the hard decisions without damage. It defines a good leader. I met him by accident. Such good client facing CEO leadership, how he's run his company, became on my podcast. We met like the other week because he was in town. He's on my board for Ethos Sun. It was an accident, but I realized that client facing leadership of how we handled something. To me, those are my heroes when it comes to CEOs. Those who lead without their egos. Those who take the time to listen and hear what is going on about their products or clients. You don't know who's on the other end. I don't know. How do I know if you're a teacher, a social worker, if you're a CEO, if you're a big VP of Apple sports teams? I don't know who's on the other end ever. But because we started talking,
that's true.
Oh my God. And to me, that's good leadership. Care about the product, the people using it, the market, not my ego taking 2 seconds. And I always tell people, it just takes one to make a difference for at an event or a show. So that was too long of an answer. Sorry about that, Brent.
No. Honestly, it's fantastic.
Got to take the time to understand, know your audience, know your market. Don't be just because you're busy. We're all busy. You're never too busy to talk to a client.
To do the right thing.
You're never too busy to talk to somebody in the industry who is a CEO or an executive of any stature, because as a CEO, we don't talk to our staff. We have boards, but sometimes you just need knowledge exchange, peer networking on your level. Check in with people that you haven't heard from because you don't know. And a big issue we're seeing is C-level mental stress and anxiety because we're just, like you said, we're moving quickly. There's so much more pressure than ever. And, be a CEO. Don't be an asshole. Check in, be kind, be nice, do good. Just because I haven't talked to you doesn't mean I'm too busy for you. If I haven't heard from you, I'm going to reach out. Hey, how's it going? How are you doing? The smallest things make the biggest difference in life. And as a CEO, you're not answering to yourself anymore. You're answering to others. And I do think we forget that at times.
I think you're right. I think you're really right about that. And, for everybody that's kind of listening and hearing this first time, I think what Sarah's talking about is again, sound advice, going that extra mile, but also understanding that it's more important than ever to wear both sides of the hat. You need to be a thought leader and an authority figure in your respective industry, and that's leveraging the right platform. But it's also going that extra mile and understanding the incredible staff that you're in charge of, and the incredible client base that you're in charge of, and the care and feeding that needs to be done for them. And I think that to me is just great advice going forward for anybody that's a CEO or founder. So Sarah, thank you for that. I told you I was going to ask you some cool tips and tricks that you do as a founder that you think that other founders might find useful. I'm very interested in kind of how you use AI yourself.
Yeah, I was so excited to talk to you about that. I love AI, the very, very, very beginning. I just watch the news AI has been around for so long, machine learning. It's just taking time to get up to speed to where we're at right now. And right now, I use it. I'm not using it. And this is a big fear with people. We have a client who hates AI, and I get it, but it's not for me. We don't use it to replace our staff, to replace our jobs. We use it to enhance time management, verify what's going on. I have somebody who's one of our editor-in-chiefs in the office for all the writing. And first thing I say, hey, Alex, did you run this through AI? Because I go so quickly spelling errors, grammar. If I write something, Alex, I'm a CEO or PR firm, but sometimes I'll run something critical through AI. and it gives me a tighter, clearer restructuring that's more precise on points that when you're so close to it, writing it, you don't know. We do white papers. We have a market intelligence survey. A lot of research in sunscreen in the cosmetic market. We utilize our AI. We have two or three of them as we write, and it's not writing for us. We're writing, but if you see my emails, first draft. Wait, there's a blue monkey over there? No, I didn't say blue monkey. I was just writing so fast. My AI's correcting stuff, and we use it for our Zooms in our meetings. It has AI, but some of it says there's a monkey. No, we were talking about water resources or something. I don't know where the monkey came in. So we always verify, trust, and verify AI. But like I like it because for the writing, for the research, for the formatting, I took a monster email that had a lot of details. And I'm not saying it's replacing legal, but I was restating, okay, contract, section 1, 2.3. Here's where our ideas are. I took a monster email, and it was a lot for you, somebody to read. I ran it, for example, through a chat. Sure. GPT, and it put it in a actual bullet, put it in a outline format, like a project outline. And I'm like, shit, it's exactly my said, but it was easier to follow because there's so many moving parts in the email. And so we use it for good. We don't use it to replace people. We just don't use it, cut and paste and throw it out there. We verify everything, but trust and verify. Some of our social media, if we're running a chain of posts for storylines, we'll run stuff through some of our AI software because it cleans up the storyline better, where it gives us a better idea that we didn't think of, but we use it so much. It does know our products. It does know our clients. It does have the memory. So if I wrote an article to you or a memo to you on podcasts, and then 2 months later I had to resurface something else, for example, it would say, hey, Sarah,
remembers.
Forgot.
Yeah.
You told Brent this 2 months ago. You need to add it back in there because we don't. It's not AI's not to replace robots. I know there's a fear of AI, robotic arms replacing people on certain manufacturing lines, and I do think we are getting a little more futuristic. But right now, on a daily basis for businesses, I say lean into AI. Don't be afraid of it and use it the way it's meant to be used for the right purpose versus a lot of shit that I don't like. And this is and I had this big conversation with a big partner of ours the other day. A lot of big publishers are getting nervous because the Google one oh my God, the big Google one that's out.
Gemini. Yeah, the Gemini AI agents. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, they're going to be great. Yeah.
It's also making it where publishers your Google Analytics are dropping by 30% because people are just going on to Google and saying, hey, give me my horoscope, give me this. Well, before, remember, we just log on to the internet, type in our questions, and you see what's going on. That's no longer happening. They're pulling the AI from Google. And so I know there is concern, rightfully so, on the publishing side, on certain industries, but that means be a smarter CEO. Use it to your advantage to quell that margin that you could be losing online traffic. And there's other ways around to enhance it to where you keep and grow if you use AI the right way. And these are some of the conversations, which oddly I've been having the past 2 or 3 days.
Fantastic. I love it. Those are phenomenal tips. And I really do believe if more people turn into it, you're gonna be able to save time, energy, and effort, and you're just gonna be more productive as a leader. And I think if some people just take what Sarah just said and implement it, you're gonna see some great results. Because I do the same thing every day. It's saving me so much more time, energy, and effort. It's insane. And I think just that alone is
You have a podcast, you're a consultant, you're big at AI. How do you use AI to better what you're doing on a day with your clients or with the podcast?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I have an AI like chief of staff prompt that I used and a thread that I constantly every day. The first thing I ask is, what are the things that I could be doing? What's the things I could be leveraging AI to do or automation to do? I certainly use it for content syndication all the time. And now I'm using it to pull insights out of the podcast and sending out tips and tricks at, I don't want to say a newsletter, but basically turning the podcast into a resource. We're doing that. Yeah. I certainly use it with my AI assistant for meetings and getting, streamlining I would spend so many more hours a day than I am now without it. And just my partner is a world-class integrator of AI, right? So he built me a personal assistant where I can do some stuff I can talk into my phone, and it'll set up a meeting here, do this. Like it does a lot of that stuff. So if I'm in a commute or that, I can use the personal assistant part to do all the little tasks that I don't want to do.
I was going to ask you about that. It's interesting because I don't. You're way better at this AI than I am. I don't use it what we should as much as you do, but our newsletter and stuff we do. But somebody brought up virtual assistants, and I, again, like total hypocrite of don't be afraid of it, lean into it. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to spend hours and time trying to just like teaching an actual person to do it. I don't use virtual assistants. And I know there's the pros and cons, features, benefits. I just haven't jumped down that rabbit hole to use a virtual assistant.
Right.
But you like yours, you actually like how it works. And it keeps you more organized level.
Yes, absolutely, and it saves me a lot of time, and it keeps me more on point. When you have so many things going on as a leader, and just in your day-to-day job, it doesn't. Yeah, anybody watching this doesn't even have you could whatever your job is. There's so many things that you have to juggle. And if you can have AI just help you streamline and keep you on task and make sure the important stuff is always done and you're staying on top of, you're going to be so much more productive as a person, no matter what you're doing. And to me, that's what a virtual assistant or a personal assistant can do.
I love
Yeah,
it.
it's just how you train it, right? Yeah. And it has to know you, right? It has to be Sarah's assistant, right? Like mine is Brent's assistant. It knows me. And I think that that's what's cool about it.
Interesting. Like I know we talk a lot about AI.
Does that answer it?
No, I was just going to start interviewing you on your own podcast. No, I mean, I love that you said that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Because virtual assistance is the next thing out, and I haven't used it because I'm still, a little, and I know we can't ever endorse certain things on our podcast, but I do feel people would want to know which virtual assistants you're using and which ones they should look into and research.
Yeah, so I just know that I'm using my own, right? That we built internally, and that's kind of we build them and sell them as well for people. And we tested different models. I think I'm definitely using ChatGPT, but I know we have an open router subscription, so I'm sure we're testing different models all the time.
Yeah.
And but I'm very excited. We missed the window, but we're on the wait list for the Gemini AI agents because I think agentic AI is definitely going to be a really cool thing to implement. And I think it takes this kind of stuff to the next level.
That's a big wait list. I was thinking of that, but somebody says they said they did it months and months ago. So I just kind of fell off the wayside of even looking into it.
Well, last week they did the kind of the rollout demo of it, right, and get everybody excited about it. Which again, I think that they're going to catch up. I mean, it's Google. Google's going to catch up. Gemini's been way behind, but you know what? I think that this will catch them up really quick when they roll it out. But I think that they're being very strategic. If you think about when OpenAI and ChatGPT came out in November of 22, what they put 1 million people on in a day, and 5 million in overnight. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I think that they're making sure that they do this the right way.
Yeah, it's a good. So we also use Grammarly just from a PR writing. Yeah. Grammarly downloaded across all of this.
Oh, Grammarly's great. Yeah.
It's easier spell checks, sentence structures. I mean, but here's the thing. It is a form of AI. And people got to understand.
Absolutely it is.
Spell check on our computers, and it just catches some stuff. And I can spell my name wrong if I'm on a big project 20 times. Spell check on steroids, but it is still a form of AI. So people need to understand they've got to look at what tools that they need to be more efficient in the form of AI and not be afraid of that. But I'm excited you're on the list with Gemini. You have to keep me posted because I'm looking into that virtual assistant. Haven't quite gotten there yet, though.
Yeah. It's look, when you start using it, you're like, how did I ever live without this? Right. So it's just one of those things. Yeah. Sarah, we can do this on a different call, but I'll definitely show you some of the stuff. So it's all good. But I want to just thank you for taking the time, sharing your insights with us, talking through your journey, and just like I said, just being open and honest and telling people about Axis and about Ethos Sun.
No, it was good being here. Thank you for answering my questions. I feel like I was on to flip the script on you a little bit on the interview side.
Yeah,
but
I love that you did that.
But I love it if you have a podcast. It's always good. You interview so many people to get their stories, but sometimes we forget our own sort of narrative is the baseline to add to who we're talking to. So I do love that when podcast hosts are talk about their own feelings and ideas and back and forth, because that's a two-way conversation to learn from versus just doing QA, like a media interview. And this is, what people understand. If you want to be on a podcast, if you're a guest, or you want to start your own, you got to be engaging. You just can't be that dry QA, because the conversations we have take a whole 180 in a different direction. That's nothing to do with the topics, but they're the most compelling, talkative conversations.
Authenticity. I agree with you. Yeah.
So that's a good tip for guests and hosts across the board. Thanks to Brent.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Sarah, for sharing your insights. And lastly, if you're listening to this, you want to explore how AI can unlock some quick wins for your sales or content flow, just grab a quick 30-minute call with us. Links are in the show notes. But also, if you're thinking about being a thought leader, definitely get in touch with Sarah at Access. And all her links will be below when we go live. Thanks again, everybody. Future-proof what matters, automate the rest, and we will see you on the next episode.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.